Stillness is not emptiness. This is where we begin. Not with doing, not with striving, but with undoing. For too long, we have been conditioned to think that peace means lack, that silence means something is missing, that being still is a waste of time. But what if we've misunderstood the nature of stillness entirely? What if, instead of being a void, stillness is the seedbed of creation itself? In the quantum world, the vacuum, the seemingly empty space, is teeming with energy. Physicists call it the quantum vacuum, and it's not empty at all. It's alive with possibility. In the same way, the stillness within you is not lifeless. It is a dynamic, living presence. It holds the raw material from which your life is sculpted. But our modern minds fear stillness. We fill our calendars, our homes, and even our conversations with noise, because in silence, our unresolved thoughts echo too loudly. Yet silence is not our enemy. It's our original home. Before we spoke, before we desired, before we performed, there was just being, just breath, just presence. And in that place, something extraordinary still exists: awareness. When we come into stillness, we meet ourselves, not the stories, not the roles, not the expectations, but the pure field of awareness that watches it all. It is in this space that our true power awakens. This is where abundance begins. Not in action, but in alignment. Quantum philosophy tells us that particles do not exist in fixed states until they are observed. They reside in a cloud of potential, a superposition, until attention crystallizes them into form. So too with your life. Your outer world takes shape not simply by what you do, but by what you attend to. And your attention is sharpest, clearest, most creative when it is anchored in stillness. Think of an artist staring at a blank canvas. At first, there is nothing, but in her stillness, an image begins to form within her. She does not fight to find it. It comes when she surrenders to silence. This is the nature of real creation. It arises from stillness. It arises from the space between thoughts. And yet, we fear the blankness. So ask yourself, where in your life are you resisting stillness out of fear that you'll lose momentum? What if slowing down is not the opposite of progress, but the portal to deeper wisdom? Let us consider the ocean. On the surface, it may appear choppy, wild, restless, but dive deep enough, and there is perfect stillness. That stillness is always there beneath the waves. You too have a depth like that. Beneath your surface-level anxieties, your ever-chattering mind, your habitual need to respond and react, there is a place of calm. That place is not indifferent. It is not passive. It is potent. When you enter that state, even briefly, you begin to notice something profound. You feel less needy, less desperate, less attached to outcomes. And ironically, this is the moment the universe seems to open up and offer you more. Why? Because you are no longer blocking it with resistance. You're not forcing things. You're receiving them. Not because you asked louder, but because you became still enough to hear the answer. This is not about disengaging from life. It's about engaging from a higher place. When you root yourself in inner stillness, your actions become infused with clarity. Your words carry more weight. Your presence becomes magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities are drawn to it. You stop chasing and start attracting. Stillness does not mean the absence of motion. It means the presence of coherence. It is where all the fragmented pieces of your being begin to line up. In that alignment, you become a tuning fork for miracles. So I ask again, when was the last time you were truly still? Not numbing, not scrolling, not meditating for the sake of achievement, but simply sitting with yourself as you are, letting the silence say what it needs to say. The universe whispers, not shouts. And it is in stillness that we finally begin to listen. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. This is the unspoken truth that underlies every moment of manifestation, whether we're aware of it or not. While the mind is busy scripting its desires and creating vision boards, the universe is listening not to our words, but to our vibration. And that vibration, our energy, is shaped not by our wants, but by our beliefs, our self-worth, our emotional set point. You can want abundance all day long, but if you live in a state of scarcity, that's the frequency you emit. And the quantum field, like a mirror, reflects it right back. Not to punish you, not to deny you, but to teach you, to help you see where your internal world is out of tune with the song you wish to hear. Quantum theory hints at a strange and beautiful paradox. The observer shapes reality. But more accurately, the state of the observer determines which version of reality collapses into form. In other words, who you are being when you observe matters more than what you are looking for. Take two people walking into the same room. One feels confident, open, safe. The other feels insecure, anxious, unworthy. Though they share the same physical environment, their inner states filter and shape what they experience. The confident one may meet new allies. The anxious one may interpret glances as judgments. Reality did not change, perception did. And perception, filtered through energy, creates experience. Let's bring this home. Think about a time you were deeply at peace. Maybe you were on a quiet morning walk, or lying in bed after a long day, heart soft and open. In that state, you likely noticed little beauties, the way light fell through the trees, or how the air smelled sweet. That wasn't coincidence. That was resonance. Your inner frequency matched the beauty available in that moment. Now contrast that with a time you were overwhelmed, tense, or fearful. The world felt harsher. People seemed colder. Even good news landed flat. Why? Because your internal signal was distorted. You were out of tune, so the melody of life couldn't reach you. This is why chasing doesn't work, because the energy of chasing is rooted in the belief I don't have it yet. And the quantum field responds faithfully, not to your request, but to your belief. It echoes your essence. If you are constantly striving, you're reinforcing separation from the very thing you seek. So pause, take a deep breath. Ask yourself with honesty, what is the dominant emotional tone of your life these days? Not what you hope for, but what you carry around, silently and consistently. Is it trust or anxiety? Is it fullness or lack? Is it gratitude or resentment? You can't fake your frequency, but you can shift it. Not by force, but by awareness. Begin to notice the energy behind your actions. Are you doing things to prove, to earn, to hustle for your worthiness? Or are you moving from a place of already being enough? That subtle difference changes everything. In relationships, when you embody love, not just perform acts of love, you attract people who resonate with that depth. In career, when you live as someone who trusts their purpose, opportunities align with that certainty. The field rearranges itself not to reward your effort, but to reflect your essence. Let's go deeper still. The energy you carry in silence, the unspoken narrative of your life, shapes what comes toward you. If you live by the mantra, I'll be happy when, you've already postponed your power. But if you start with, I choose to embody peace now, you activate a new frequency, and the universe must recalibrate to meet you there. Here's a secret. The universe does not need convincing. It needs coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, when you are what you seek, you stop needing to manifest. You simply magnetize. So again, ask, where in your life are you still chasing something you don't believe you deserve? What would happen if, instead, you started embodying the feeling of already having it? Not pretending, not tricking yourself, but genuinely remembering that abundance is your birthright, not a reward. Quantum peace is not passive. It is a disciplined return to inner congruence. You calibrate your being to wholeness, and reality bends accordingly. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered who you are. Life is a quantum mirror. It reflects not what you command, but what you consistently are. And yet we often wonder why certain patterns keep repeating. Why we keep attracting the same kind of relationships, the same financial blocks, the same cycles of frustration or stagnation. It's not because the universe is against us. It's because it is honest with us. And honesty in the quantum realm shows up through reflection. Imagine reality as a hall of mirrors. Every person, event, or circumstance that stirs something in you is a reflection of a part of your inner landscape. That friend who constantly interrupts you may reflect the part of you that doesn't feel heard. That job that keeps draining you may mirror your unconscious belief that joy must be earned. You are not being punished. You are being shown. In quantum mechanics, particles become entangled. They influence each other no matter the distance. There is no such thing as separation. This idea translates into your daily life in powerful ways. You are not isolated. Your thoughts ripple outward. Your emotions radiate. Your internal state entangles with your environment. This is not woo-woo. This is resonance. So if life keeps sending you chaos, maybe it's responding to the internal noise you haven't yet acknowledged. If people keep abandoning you, maybe it's reflecting the part of you that abandoned yourself long ago. This is not about blame, it's about seeing. Because once you see, you gain power. Self-awareness becomes the lever that shifts the entire field. The more coherent your internal state, the more aligned your beliefs, emotions, and behaviors, the clearer the reflection. Life starts making sense. Not because it becomes easier, but because it becomes a more accurate feedback system. Let me offer a real-world example. A woman once told me she kept attracting emotionally unavailable partners. Over and over again. "Why am I cursed with this pattern?" she asked. But as we peeled back the layers, she realized she herself had built walls. Her fear of vulnerability, masked by independence, was broadcasting "stay back," while her words were pleading "come close." The universe wasn't confused. It was coherent. Her life mirrored not her desires, but her energetic boundaries. Another man once shared how his financial life was like a roller coaster. Periods of feast and famine. When he slowed down enough to examine his patterns, he noticed a deep-seated guilt around wealth. Messages from childhood about money being dirty or spiritual people not being rich. So even when money flowed in, he'd unconsciously sabotage it. Again, his quantum mirror was faithful. Ask yourself now, what patterns keep repeating in your life? What if they aren't coincidences or karma, but feedback loops, invitations to tune your energy differently? This is where the work begins. You don't change the mirror by touching the glass. You change what it reflects by shifting what stands in front of it. This means inner work is not a luxury. It's a technology. It's how you interface with reality. Meditation is one such tool, but not just as a way to feel calm. Think of meditation as entering the observer's seat in the quantum field. It's where you notice without reacting, where you disentangle from programmed beliefs, where you witness the mirror and begin to reframe it. Another tool is journaling. When you write without censoring, you expose the subconscious. You start to see the themes, the triggers, the emotional signatures behind your habits. And once seen, they begin to loosen their grip. Even conscious movement, like walking without distraction, can become a portal. As your body aligns with breath, your mind begins to soften. You become more available to insight, to awareness, to subtle shifts in the field. And here's the beautiful twist. As you shift, the mirror does too. Relationships change, opportunities emerge, synchronicities appear. Life becomes less about force, more about flow. You're no longer navigating with a blindfold. You're dancing with a partner who reflects every step. So have you been begging life to change while resisting that same change within yourself? What if the world isn't holding you back, but simply holding up a mirror? You can reject the reflection, or you can use it. You can rage against the glass or bow before it with reverence, saying, "Thank you for showing me what I forgot to heal." That's when the transformation begins. That's when you stop reacting to life and start relating to it. Surrender is a frequency, not a gesture of defeat, but a vibrational signature of alignment. We often confuse surrender with giving up, an act of weakness or passivity. But in truth, surrender is one of the most powerful quantum actions we can take. It is the moment when we stop trying to bend the universe to our limited will and begin dancing with a force that sees more, knows more, and loves us deeper than we can comprehend. In the quantum field, potential exists in all directions. Infinite timelines, infinite versions of you, all suspended in possibility. But the one that collapses into form, the one that becomes your lived experience, is determined by your state of coherence. And nothing brings coherence faster than surrender. You've felt it before. That moment when you let go of controlling every outcome. When you exhaled deeply, not because everything was solved, but because you stopped resisting what was. And in that space, things began to shift, not because you forced them, but because your energy stopped contradicting itself. This is the paradox of surrender. The less you push, the more you align. The more you trust, the more you see. The more you release, the more room you make for abundance to land. But let's be clear, surrender is not the same as resignation. Resignation says, nothing will change. Surrender says, I no longer block the path to change. Resignation is despair. Surrender is devotion. In relationships, surrender looks like releasing the need to control how others love us, and instead committing to loving ourselves so completely that our standards naturally rise. In creativity, surrender is not waiting for perfect conditions, but beginning anyway, offering the work with an open hand, trusting its timing and its reach. In the body, surrender is felt as softness, a loosening of the jaw, the shoulders, the belly. It's the nervous system moving from fight or flight to rest and receive. You don't make this happen with effort. You allow it to happen with presence. Let's revisit the concept of the quantum observer. When we fixate on one outcome, we may unknowingly collapse all other possibilities. Our fear becomes the observer. Our doubt becomes the director. But when we surrender, when we say, I am open to something better than I imagined, we reintroduce the full spectrum of potential. We let life surprise us. A woman once told me about how she tried for years to manifest her dream job. Affirmations, visualizations, all of it. Nothing landed. Until one day, after yet another rejection, she sat in meditation and whispered, I give up. Show me something I can't see. 2 weeks later, she was offered a position in a completely different field, one she hadn't even considered, but which made her come alive. That wasn't coincidence. That was surrender in motion. So ask yourself, what are you still gripping that no longer serves you? What belief, plan, or identity are you defending that might be blocking what wants to flow in? Letting go is not losing. It's clearing the channel. It's cleaning the lens. It's taking your foot off the hose so water can pour freely. You don't stop desiring. You stop straining. And in that relaxed state, miracles are no longer exceptions. They become your rhythm. Surrender returns you to a truth deeper than preference. It reminds you that you are not separate from the field. You are part of the intelligence that orchestrates galaxies. Your task is not to dominate life, but to cooperate with it. Not to demand certainty, but to deepen trust. You were never meant to carry everything. You were meant to tune yourself to grace and let the rest unfold. From inner tune to outer bloom, the journey of quantum peace always moves from the invisible to the visible, from the vibrational to the physical. When you begin to embody stillness, coherence, and surrender, your external life must eventually reflect this new state. It cannot do otherwise. The field responds faithfully. It reorganizes around the signal you emit. But this shift isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's as subtle as waking up and realizing your anxiety has softened. Sometimes it's a chance encounter, a door opening you didn't knock on. Sometimes it's the realization that what you were chasing doesn't even resonate anymore, because you've changed. We've been taught that transformation looks like hustle, sweat, proof. But true transformation often looks like ease, like quiet joy, like unshakable presence. It's less about doing and more about being differently. And from that being flows new doing, action not born of urgency, but of inspiration. This is the essence of quantum peace, a state where your inner world is so aligned, so attuned, so rooted in truth that the outer world blooms to match it. Flowers don't bloom by force. They bloom because the conditions are right. And you, when your mind, body, and energy align, are the same. You become fertile ground for synchronicity. You might start noticing the right people showing up. Opportunities that seem distant begin circling back. Old pain dissolves, not because you forced healing, but because you stopped picking the wound. This is not magic. This is physics. This is the natural result of harmony. And yet, many people ask, how long will it take? That's the wrong question. Time is not the master of this process. Readiness is. The moment you shift, you are already living in a different timeline. The outcomes may take time to appear, but the transformation is immediate. You don't have to wait for evidence to feel whole. Feeling whole is the evidence. So now, pause and ask yourself, what does your life look like when you live from this tuned-in state? What would it mean to wake up each morning with the feeling that life is not happening to you, but responding through you? This is not spiritual theory. This is daily practice. It's in the way you breathe when you're overwhelmed. It's in the pause before a reaction. It's in choosing trust over tension. Peace is not the reward for a life well lived. It is the foundation that makes such a life possible. And here's something wild. The more peaceful you are, the more powerful you become. Because peace is clarity. Peace is focus. Peace is presence. And presence is magnetic. Presence draws in all that is meant for you, not because you chased it, but because you finally became available to receive it. From inner tune to outer bloom, that is the journey. But it begins in the quiet, in the small choices, in the soft whispers of the heart. The world may keep shouting louder, urging you to do more, want more, prove more. But the field of abundance answers to silence. It answers to coherence. It answers to you when you finally remember that you are enough as you are. So take one last breath, drop into your body. Listen not with your ears, but with your being. What is your energy saying to life? What song is it humming beneath your thoughts? Tune it, align it, and then let the bloom unfold. Because you were never meant to fight for abundance. You were meant to receive it in stillness, in surrender, in peace. You've just walked through the unseen corridors of quantum peace, where inner stillness becomes the architect of outer abundance. Perhaps the world hasn't changed yet, but your perception has. And in the quantum field, that's everything. Remember, you are not here to chase life. You are here to tune into it, like a musician to a frequency, like a flower to sunlight, like a soul remembering its own sound. So let this be your new beginning. Practice presence. Choose coherence. Embody peace, not someday but now. And trust that the universe is already listening, already dancing, already aligning with the signal you're brave enough to broadcast. If this stirred something in you, an insight, a shift, a softening, share it, speak it aloud, reflect on it. And if you feel called, leave a comment or subscribe to stay in this field of resonance together. Because the world needs your peace, and your peace creates the world.